I want to start with a scenario that I think is going to be painfully familiar to almost everyone listening.
Okay.
You wake up, you check your wearable, whatever brand you use, and you just see a red number. Or, maybe you don't use one. You just head to the gym, get under a bar for a weight you've lifted 100 times, and today, it feels like it's glued to the floor.
The feeling of immediate betrayal by your own body.
Betrayal is the right word, and that internal monologue starts instantly. It's not just, oh, I'm tired today. It spirals.
Oh, yeah.
My program isn't working. I'm getting weaker. I need to change my diet. Maybe I need to fire my coach. We take this single data point, this one bad Tuesday, and we treat it like a full-blown crisis.
It's the straight line fallacy in action.
Yeah.
I mean, we are psychologically wired to expect progress to be linear.
Yeah.
Up and to the right forever. So when reality gives us a dip, we don't just see it as a fluctuation. We see it as like a character flaw.
Which brings us to the deep dive for today. We are looking at a philosophical piece from the FinchQ team that really challenges this whole reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
It's titled, Patterns Tell the Truth, Moments Cannot.
And honestly, reading this felt a bit like an intervention for my own brain.
It is a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah.
The central tension here is fascinating because it pits two things against each other that we usually just, mash together.
Which are?
The loudness of the moment versus the quiet truths of the pattern.
Loudness is such a great descriptor for it because when you're in a bad mood or your performance tanks, it just screams at you.
It does.
It takes up all the oxygen in the room.
And our mission today is to figure out how to ignore that screaming, or at least how to interpret it correctly.
Okay.
We need to shift your perspective from obsessing over these isolated snapshots to understanding the longitudinal patterns. Because, and this is the core argument of the source material, the snapshot is almost always lying to you.
Let's push back on that for a second, though, because I can hear the skeptics, and I'm kind of one of them thinking, wait a minute.
What?
If I wake up and my resting heart rate is spiked or I can't lift a weight, that's a fact. That's real data. How is that a lie?
It's not that the data point is fake. The number is real. The lie is the verdict you pull from it.
Oh.
The FinchQ text calls this the snapshot trap. When you assess your health, your productivity, your happiness based on a single sample, you are falling for a statistical error.
Okay, so we're talking about sample size.
We're talking about signal-to-noise ratio. Think about it this way. A single moment is incredibly noisy. It reacts to everything.
Like what?
Did you have a glass of wine last night? Was the room too hot? Did you read a stressful email right before bed?
Did the cat jump on your face at 3:00 a.m.?
All of that is noise. It creates volatility in the data. And if you treat that noisy moment as a verdict on your overall fitness, you were essentially letting the cat jumping on your face dictate your self-worth.
That puts it in perspective, but we do this constantly. We ask, was today good or bad? Did I do enough? It feels like we're supposed to ask those questions.
It feels like accountability, but it's actually anxiety masquerading as analysis. And the source makes a really critical point here. It says, if you treat a moment as a final judgment, normal variation starts to look like meaningful change.
That distinction is huge. Normal variation versus meaningful change.
In any data set, stock markets, weather, human physiology, there is going to be variance.
Sure.
Ups and downs that mean absolutely nothing other than the system is active.
Yeah.
But because we are obsessed with a snapshot, we look at a downward variance and say, I am declining.
We mistake a ripple for a current.
And that is dangerous because it leads to bad decision-making. You start fixing things that aren't broken.
Which leads us into the second big idea here, which is redefining what stability actually looks like.
Right.
Because I think most of us deep down believe stability means nothing changes. I want to be a robot. I want to hit the same numbers, have the same energy every single day.
But you aren't a robot. You're a biological organism living in a chaotic environment. The text lists what it calls a catalog of disruptors.
Right. Travel, illness, family obligations, work stress.
All that stuff.
And my personal nemesis, which the text actually flags. Nothing in particular.
Yes, the days where everything should be fine, but you just feel heavy.
Those are the most frustrating ones. If I hung over, I get it. If I ran a marathon yesterday, I get it. But when I've done everything right and I still feel off, that's when the panic sets in. What is wrong with me?
And this is where the biological reality comes in, which I think is one of the most important takeaways from this piece. The source explains that stress accumulates unevenly and, crucially, recovery lags behind effort.
Recovery lags behind effort. Let's dig into that. What does that actually look like in a week?
Okay, think about a typical high performer's week. Monday and Tuesday, you have high energy, you crush a presentation, you do a hard workout, you stay up late working,
Feeling great.
you feel great, you're riding the adrenaline,
I am invincible. Look at my snapshot.
and Wednesday comes. You didn't do much on Wednesday morning, but suddenly you hit a wall. You're foggy, weak, irritable. If you look at the snapshot of Wednesday, you think, why am I failing today? I haven't even done anything hard.
But the bill from Monday and Tuesday just arrived in the mail.
The biological lag means the cost of effort doesn't show up until 24 or even 48 hours later. And if you don't understand that lag, you interpret Wednesday's fatigue as a decline in capacity.
Instead of a delayed payment for Monday's effort.
Exactly.
This completely changes how we define stability then. Because if I expect stability to mean I feel good every day, I'm going to be disappointed, 50% of the time?
At least, Finch-Q offers a much better definition. Stability is not the absence of variation.
Okay.
It is the ability to return to familiar ground after a disruption.
I love that. It's not about avoiding the dip. It's about the bounce back.
It is found in how the body responds again and again, not how it performs once.
Right.
If you travel for work, eat terrible airport food, and sleep 4 hours, you will degrade. That is just biology.
For sure.
Stability is the fact that 3 days after you get home, you're back to baseline.
So the goal isn't to prevent the crash, it's to trust the recovery.
Stability is resilience, not rigidity.
But to see that resilience, to actually see the bounce back, you can't be looking at the day. You have to be looking at the timeline. Which brings us to the role of repetition and context.
This is where we have to talk about the data visualization in our heads. So imagine you have a graph of your life over the last month. That's 30 data points.
Okay, I'm visualizing it.
And let's say 28 of those days were solid. You hit your targets, you felt good, but 2 of those days were just absolute trash.
We all have those.
If you look at the whole month, the wide frame, those 2 days are tiny blips. They're barely visible hiccups in an otherwise solid line.
But we don't live in the wide frame. We live in the now.
We zoom in, we put our nose right up to the graph on that one bad day, and when you were zoomed in, that tiny dip looks like the Grand Canyon. It looks like you've fallen off a cliff.
It reminds me of looking at a pointillist painting. You know, if you stand 2 inches away from a Surratt painting, all you see is a chaotic smear of blue and green dots.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. You have to step back 10 feet to see that it's actually a perfectly rendered picture of a park.
That is the perfect analogy. The snapshot is the nose-to-canvas view. You're obsessing over a blue dot, the bad mood, the poor sleep, and screaming that the painting is ruined.
Right.
But the pattern, the picture, only emerges when you step back.
The text actually says that without this wider frame, interpretation collapses into guesswork. That's kind of scary. It implies that when I try to figure out why I'm tired today based only on today, I'm basically just guessing.
You are guessing. You are trying to find a cause and effect relationship in a noise storm. The source describes patterns as quieter than moments, but far more honest. A subtle change, like your baseline energy slowly creeping up over 6 months, that's invisible on any given Tuesday.
Right.
But that slow creep is the truth. The Tuesday slump is the lie.
So if we accept this, if we agree to step back and look at the whole painting, how do we actually do that in the moment? Because it's really hard to be philosophical when you feel like garbage.
It is.
The text offers a practical tool here, which it calls the 3 buckets.
This is the actionable part. Instead of reacting with judgment, I am bad, you react with categorization. You ask 3 questions.
Right.
What is familiar, what is transient, and what is truly evolving?
Let's role play this a bit so we can see how it works. Let's say I wake up and my legs feel like lid. I'm grumpy, I don't want to work.
Okay.
The alarm goes off and I just want to throw the phone across the room.
Okay. So, step 1, what is familiar? Ask yourself, is this a pattern I know?
Well, if it's a Monday, I might say, yeah, I usually hate Mondays. Or if I did a heavy leg workout yesterday, okay, this soreness is familiar.
So you've identified it. It's not a mystery illness. It's a familiar response. Now, step 2, what is transient?
Transient meaning temporary. So, did I sleep poorly last night? Yes. Is my kid sick? Yes.
Those are transient stressors. They are passing storms. They aren't permanent changes to your biology. They're just things happening to you right now.
And realizing that helps because I know storms pass. I don't need to rebuild the house. I just need to close the windows and wait.
And that leaves the third and most important bucket. What is truly evolving?
This is the one we usually miss because we're too busy freaking out about the transient stuff.
This is the signal in the noise. When you step back and look at the last 6 months, Is that lead leg feeling happening more often? Is your motivation consistently lower than it was last year? That is an evolving pattern.
And that is what requires action.
If something is evolving, you change the plan. If something is transient, you stay the course. The problem is, most people change the plan based on transient data.
This is what the Finch Q team calls overcorrection, and I am definitely guilty of this.
Oh, me too.
This Sunday night overhaul. I have a bad weekend, I eat too much pizza, and suddenly I'm buying a new planner, signing up for a 5 a.m. boot camp, and throwing out all the food in my pantry.
The cost of that overcorrection is massive. Think about the energy you waste starting and stopping new protocols every time you hit a bump. It's exhausting.
It's emotional whiplash.
And it prevents progress. Because real progress needs time to compound. If you pivot every time there's a noisy data point, you never let the compound interest of consistency kick in.
So the goal is continuity over impulse.
That's the mantra. The text argues that understanding your patterns gives you personal independence.
Right.
You are no longer a slave to how you feel right this second. You can make decisions based on what you know to be true over the long haul.
It sounds like maturity. It sounds like being the adult in the room with your own brain.
It is. It's the difference between a child who cries because they dropped their ice cream and the adult who knows they can just get another one. It stops the spiral.
But there's a catch, isn't there? The text mentions that moments are seductive. Why do we fall for the snapshot trap so easily if it's so illogical?
Because moments are vivid. They're visceral. You can feel a headache. You can see the red number on your watch. Patterns are boring. Patterns are abstract. You can't feel a 6-month trend line in your body right now.
It's the difference between a firework and a glacier. The firework catches your eye, but the glacier is the thing that's reshaping the landscape.
And the source leaves us with this really profound thought. What changes slowly is what actually matters.
What changes slowly is what actually matters. That is tough to swallow in a culture that sells 30-day transformations.
We want the fast result. We want the hack, but think about the things that actually define you: your cardiovascular health, your professional expertise, the depth of your relationships, your mental resilience. Do any of those things change quickly?
No, they take years.
They change imperceptibly. If you look at them day to day, they look static. It's only when you look back over a year that you see the movement.
So if we are constantly reacting to the fast stuff, the bad mood, the good mood, the lucky break, the bad luck, we are missing the actual story of our lives.
We are distracted by the fireworks while the glacier is moving. And if we want to be truly informed, truly independent, we have to learn to watch the glacier.
It requires patience, and honestly, it requires a bit of bravery. It takes guts to feel terrible on a Tuesday and say, I'm not going to fix this, I'm just going to wait.
It's the hardest thing to do. Inaction in the face of discomfort is a superpower.
So as we wrap this up, I want to recap the toolkit we've built today, because this isn't just philosophy, it's a way to operate.
First, recognize the snapshot trap. When you feel that panic rising because of a bad day, remind yourself, this is noise. This is a single blue dot in a massive painting.
Second, redefine stability. Stop trying to be a flat line. Accept the lag. Accept that recovery takes time. Stability is just the fact that you come back.
Third, use the buckets. Familiar, transient, evolving.
Yeah.
Don't let a transient stressor convince you that your life is evolving in a bad direction.
And finally, trust the slow change. Continuity over impulse. Stop firing your coach because you had a bad week.
Stop buying new mattresses at 2 a.m.
Please stop buying mattresses at 2 a.m. Your wallet will thank you.
Just stay the course.
We want to leave you with a question to carry into your week. Something to help you shift your gaze from the moment to the pattern.
Ask yourself, what in your life is changing slowly right now that you might be missing because you're too focused on today?
Maybe you're actually getting stronger, but you feel weak because you're tired. Maybe you're becoming more patient, but you feel like a failure because you snapped once this morning.
Look for the slow truth. That's where the reality is.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.